Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Max here, as usual. Now we have concluded our totalitarian chapters, which I hope you found intriguing and interesting. I'm sure a lot of people will have a lot of questions after that. Now, as we speak of lies, let's move on with the Khazarian Mafia's entangled web of lies. We speak of NASA today, Chapter 8.1, NASA's Web of Lies. Before we do that, however, we do the usual housekeeping. The Amazon page where you can find the book. And do remember, I have not mentioned that enough, that inside the book you will find all the downloadable links of all the documentaries and all the information available in this podcast. You can actually download it directly from the book in hyperlink form. We have our Rumble channel, as always. Please like and subscribe. Our Brighteon channel, and in the end, our YouTube channel. So thank you for joining, and please give me as many likes as you possibly can. Click that like button, please. Now, as we proceed on our journey through the Khazarian Mafia's entangled web of lies and deception, we cannot avoid talking about NASA. I did mention in passing before that all of NASA's astronauts were Freemasons. Well, there's a reason for that. Because if you want to perform a massive hoax, you need good actors that can keep a secret and bring it to the graves with them. And they have done that very, very well. Except Buzz Aldrin, that in his drunken stupor has slipped up more times than we can count. It's a miracle the man is still alive. I'm not going to pretend that I know everything. And I also do not want to be perceived as the one who cries wolf every time something is out of place. But this one is too big to neglect. The repercussion of what has been done to us due to this fraud is too large to ignore, as it disrupts the very foundation of how we perceive our surroundings. So here it goes. After World War II, the Nuremberg trials were held, as I mentioned before. What has escaped the history books regarding this matter is the 1,600 German scientists and experts that were extracted from Germany and never prosecuted for their crimes. This was an OSS or CIA operation called Operation Paperclip. I will show it to you here. Out of Wikipedia, I read, secret United States intelligence program in which more than 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians were taken from former Nazi Germany to the US government employment after the end of the World War II in Europe, between 1945 and 1959. Most were former members and leaders of the Nazi Party. You don't say. So they imported 1,600 Nazis to America, gave them a new life, new name, and they were never prosecuted for their crimes. Most of these German experts were given a new life and identity, housing and support, and most importantly, a well-paid job in a land of opportunity that was America. They all ended up in deep state black projects dealing with innocent projects such as MK-Ultra Mind Control, the Tavistock Institute, Area 51, Groom Lake, and the creation of the CIA. I will here show you what the Tavistock Institute is, because this reflects back to a previous chapter where we spoke about mind control, collective brainwashing and things like that. Well, this is where that comes from. I read, the Tavistock Institute, officially known as the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations, was founded in 1947 in London. Established as a multidisciplinary organization, it drew together psychiatrists, psychologists, sociologists, and other social scientists to explore the dynamics of human behavior. Its initial focus was on the psychological trauma experienced by soldiers returning from World War II. Well, this is where the Nazis ended up. Now, the most famous genius that was extracted is without any doubt Wernher von Braun. As he had developed the V-2 rocket for the Nazis, the most powerful rocket at the time, the military-industrial complex knew that they would have a field day with this guy. Sorry for the noise. He was brought over and was put as head of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, also called NASA. NASA was created in 1958 based on the work that von Braun had developed in the background. As the name suggests, the agency was developed to explore space, launch of satellites, and most importantly, compete with the Russian space program, that was of great concern for the intelligence agency. It really wasn't much of a concern, as we now know, that there were just two sides of the same Khazaria Mafia coin, but perceptions are important. That's what the Tavistock Institute instructed, and so it was. Let's take a closer look at this Wernher von Braun. I put him on the screen for you. And this is also from Wikipedia. And here it even mentions exactly where he comes from. I read, German-American aerospace engineer and space architect. He was a member of the Nazi Party and Allgemeine SS, the leading figure in the development of rocket technology in Nazi Germany, and later a pioneer rocket and space technology in the United States. He passed away June 16, 1977. He was only 65 years old when he died. That's relatively young. Now, here you have an SS Nazi in charge of NASA, okay? So that's how this began. Moving on. The space race with Russia was a big deal psychologically for the government and the public. It was essential for the US to win this battle during the Cold War and prove to the world that they had supremacy in space going forward. NASA's budget ballooned over time and today stands at, listen to this, $58 million per day. Yep, you heard that right, per day. This is an astounding amount of currency considering that the space missions has been terminated and the space shuttle program is dead. So where does this $58 million a day go to, I wonder? The entire ISS, International Space Station, is fed, supposedly, by Russia's Space Center. SpaceX, Elon's company, and other private companies has taken over this market, and SpaceX has even signed a contract for almost $900 million to take down the ISS and scrap it safely. What will replace it, we don't know. My personal impression is that all of this is just theater for the masses, to keep your eyes pointed up instead of looking around and trying to understand deeply the ground we actually walk upon. There's so much we don't know about this world we live upon. Should we not demand to have a deep understanding of that before we start to travel to the stars? I'm just asking. We don't even know what's under the oceans. And that doesn't even require expensive rockets, right? So NASA, in my humble view, is only a very expensive distraction, keeping us all bamboozled and distracted from what really matters, namely the realm we actually walk upon. I will demonstrate why I have reached this conclusion, and you are free to investigate by yourself and reach your own conclusions. We start this presentation here with a clip from the BBC, 1 year before the moon missions started. I can't prove the accuracy of this, but this does sound very much like Khazaria Mafia rhetoric to me, or predictive programming, as I have described before. Let's play you this little clip where this fellow in the UK exposes a lot of truth. Some of the things I've already spoken about in this podcast series. So let's listen to this gentleman.
So this is 1968 on BBC. This is a year before the fake moon landing. They've told everybody. they relieve themselves of their karmic responsibility. Because if you tell people and you make it available, you're not trapping people. It's consent. This wasn't made by a bunch of truthers. This is the fucking BBC. Told you this.
You're going to make this happen?
No. We're going to make models much cheaper. And then we photograph the models.
Fake newsreels?
That's fake newsreels. For the past 10 years, people have been looking at our fake newsreels and listening to our fake commentaries.
And they accept it for the truth. And you can do it. Stop 100 people in the street. How many of them have actually seen a missile or a satellite? They're just told they exist and they believe it.
Yeah, you're getting there. I knew you would. You didn't really believe there were all these things whizzing about up there, did you? Sputniks and rockets. Astronauts crossing their legs for 8 days.
How long has this been going on?
Since Hiroshima.
And the H-bomb, you mean, that doesn't work either?
Right. Dirty.
Very, very dirty.
What was your first reaction? Relief. Oh, yes. Yes, it has to be relief.
You say you can put out what pictures you like on television. Doesn't anybody try to stop you?
No, nobody wants to. 99.386% of the population wouldn't believe this conversation. And the rest are working for us. And they're the top minds, the really responsible people. Scare an ostrich, buries its head in the sand. You scare a hedgehog, it rolls itself up into a ball. When a woman's frightened, she goes out and buys herself a hat.
You mean you scare us so that we'll buy more, so that money moves quicker, production moves up?
We don't say scare when we talk about human beings. We say threaten them emotionally. And there are all sorts of ways, not just the big ones like the hydrogen bomb. Overcrowd them a little with bad planning. Sell them too many motor cars. Anything to keep them a little bit removed from reality. Nowadays, people don't work for money. They work for the idea of money. They don't even love for love. They love for the idea of love. They only hate for the idea of hate. It took us 5 years to find a non-addictive drug, one we could pay off against the hard drugs. LSD.
You marketed that?
Oh, yes, of course. And for a very good reason. Some of these protest movements were getting a little bit too close to the mark. LSD gave them nice little hallucinations. Made them talk like 3-year-olds. Throw flowers at policemen. Politicians are easy to control. The grosser mentality boys who like to be photographed getting in and out of Daimlers in Whitehall. They come right at the bottom of our organization. A few rungs up the ladder, there are the people in the top secret factories. Just those in a position to know they're making weapons that don't really work.
There must come a time when somebody wants to use one of those weapons. I mean, somebody is standing there with a finger on the button.
Well, that's the beauty of it. Nobody presses the button.
Just who the hell are you?
It's obvious, isn't it? Just a very few of the top people in communications in every major country in the world.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that to me sounds like a Freemason, Jesuit, Zionist, Kabbalist, Illuminati type. I don't know how many more words I can put to it. But this is the way they speak. The level of arrogance is astounding. So, was it real? Maybe. But the words certainly are. And the actions are as well. So let's move on here. We start this whole thing and this evidence gathering with a very good topic. Rockets and propulsion. Now, we're told that we need large rockets to reach space and travel to other planets such as Mars or the Moon. Elon is shooting all his rockets up with SpaceX, right? But let me show you something here. Because the way any propulsion system works is that a jet of thrust that propels the object forward in space. An airplane engine, for example. In our realm, we have an atmosphere, and the thrust is pushing against the air, thus moving it forward. All propellants work this way. A helicopter needs air to lift, as the rotor blades are pushing against it. Basically, any propulsion system needs a matter of a certain density to push against it. Now, I will show you a video here, and let's look at what happens when a rocket works in a vacuum, just like space, because there's no air, correct? I will explain to you how this works before I show you the video, because I have thought about these things for a very long time, and this is the only video I've ever found of this type of experiment. But then again, I am a nerd after all. So in a vacuum, the rocket, or even compressed air itself, would not propel any object forward, as there's nothing to push against. Am I right? Now you will see in this little video here that nothing happens until the thrust hits the glass on the other side. So let me play this little video for you. It's very intriguing.
I finally found a video that confirms exactly what I was thinking for a while now. Rockets don't work in a vacuum. There's nothing for a rocket to propel off if it's devoid of particles in a vacuum. As you can see here, the rocket only begins to move when the gases physically push off the chamber, the vacuum chamber. If rockets really had thrust in a vacuum, this rocket should have immediately started moving the second the gases came out of it. But it only started to move the second the gas started to equalize inside the vacuum chamber and push off the walls of the vacuum chamber and cause it to move. There are no physical walls in space.
So there you have it. Rockets cannot function in space. It's impossible. Okay? I could stop writing or talking already now. The lie has been exposed for what it is. But unfortunately, there's much more for you to see. So let's move forward. These clowns, they have also supposedly sent a drone helicopter to Mars called Ingenuity. We have video footage of its first flight. Everybody was so proud. The only problem I'm having with this is that, again, just like space, there's no air on Mars, is there? So let's take a look at this little video of the first helicopter on Mars. Yeah, that's cute, isn't it? It's an official NASA video of a CGI rendering of some kind, because what you saw on the screen does not exist. It cannot exist. Then, it also helps when you have keyboard warriors like the one I'm going to show you now that digs out embarrassing information, as per this little video that I will play you right now.
So there I was, just minding my own business, looking at Google Earth, and this big snow-covered monstrosity is staring me in the face like, why is that covered in snow? I look into Ireland and some other areas around it, Iceland. Ireland gets snow only once a year, 1 day a year. So I keep digging a little bit deeper, and I finally get underneath this cloud cover here, and a few images pop up. And I say, oh, images, what are they? Well, this is what you got, which I'm sure that looks familiar to you, right? Looks just like the pictures they give us of Mars. So I'm just kind of creeping around here and definitely noticing the same kind of undulation changes and same kind of rock, same kind of dirt. Only thing that's missing is that nice little red tint that they pay somebody $150,000 a year to put on there. But those mountains, those rocks, definitely exactly like we see on Mars. So I said, I wonder what they're doing out here. What is all this equipment for? I'm sure it can't be NASA, right? Whose orange Hummer is this? Okay, that looks like a NASA symbol. Well, let's dig a little further because I can't really see anything on here other than it certainly looks like a NASA symbol. And I can't read that. Tried. So this one here said, roving the Arctic. So what is that? Doesn't make any sense. Pop in here. See if we can find anything. Again, same kind of mountains. That looks like the same kind of water I've seen before that I thought was water on Mars. Who knows? Zoom in, what's that? Oh, nothing. Just looked like it was funny. So I'll keep kind of going through here and see if it... What the... Yeah. So, I think I found out where Mars is, guys. It's just about 1,000 miles north of me. Not quite the distance that NASA says. But I can't find anybody who's in charge of this. They must be hiding behind these rocks. Oh, no, there they are out in front of everybody. Just standing there. Lovely. Clown number 1, clown number 2, and clown number 3. Yeah, this is very empty here. Oh, there's one of those ATVs. All right, now we're on something. Oh, I got another truck. Oh, yeah, it says NASA. What's that say? Mars Project?
So Mars is actually in Greenland, ladies and gentlemen, according to this video clip. Let me show you this other one that I found absolutely hilarious. Here we go. So according to this, we have flies on Mars as well, which is quite a discovery. We had no idea. Now, of course, an intelligent critic would argue that, of course, NASA were up there performing tests, etc., etc., so this was the most suitable terrain for such experiments. I'll grant you that. But wait to see more what I have to show you before judging so quickly. We all know that the Apollo missions were the greatest achievement of NASA, soon followed by the shuttle program that gave us hope for a future in space. Now that was scrapped, and all the funding was pulled. I wonder why. I still wonder why today. Let's look at Apollo a little bit more in detail. Here I will show you some anomalies that makes us wonder if they really went, or if it was all filmed in a studio in secret. Look at these pictures on your screen. And remember that the only light supposedly reaching the moon is the sun. It only goes in one direction if the sun is the only source, right? So then why do we have shadows that move in different directions in the same picture if there's only one light source? This is, yeah, what do you say? What can you say? We have this other gem that came out of Twitter, as usual. This is an official NASA picture from nasa.gov. It says up here, absolute classic that cannot be undone. Yeah, they posted this themselves. You see the sun on the horizon, way, way, way behind there. Why are the shadows over this rover thing exactly underneath the solar panels, if the sun is way back there. So there is laziness involved here as well. I mean, they're not even putting in the effort. I would expect for 58 million bucks a day, I would expect them to do a better job than this. This one is absolutely hilarious as well. You have the lunar rover and the moon module and your astronauts. So how did this rover fit into this module and have space for 2 of this astronauts? Well, obviously it cannot be done. So we have the famous videos of them landing on the surface of the moon when Neil Armstrong came up there and said his famous words. I'll show you a video of that exact event, and I'll give you a hint before we watch it. If he was the first to step down, then who was filming? Who was filming this? Here we go.
Very, very fine grained as you get close to it. It's almost like a powder. Ground mass is very fine. I'm going to step off the limb. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Oh, that looks beautiful from here, Neil. It has a stark beauty all its own.
So, who was filming this? Sure, it could be a camera pre-assembled on the lander, maybe. But in this angle, it seems unlikely, as the lander's leg would have to be too far away and at the wrong angle. But wait, there's more. This one is from Apollo 17 in 1972. Check this one out.
Fourth stage, pushed. Mission arm is out. Okay, I'm going to get the pro. 99, proceeded, 3, 2, 1, ignition. Right away, Houston. Regs are good. Ag side. Pitch over. Roger, you have good shot. Okay, 30 seconds. 308 your number. Tank coming through 1,500 feet, and H-dot looks good.
Can anybody explain to me if the dude who recorded and zoomed and moved the camera, was he left behind? Is he still up there? And who brought the video back in that case? We didn't have Wi-Fi tech back then. It was all on tape. And I'm doubtful even that would work with the cosmic radiation. Have you ever put the Kodak roll, the old school Kodak rolls, through the scanner at the airport? Yeah, your photos are ruined. Yet somehow they pull this off. So we're really glad that all this money went to improve humanity, right? So let's have a laugh about this. Some humor in this regard.
You can see Neil Armstrong taking that historic first step and becoming the first man to walk on the moon. Yes, Timmy?
Who shot that?
What?
Who shot that footage?
What do you mean?
Well, if Neil Armstrong was the first man on the moon, then who's holding the camera?
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Well,
Who's out there with the camera?
No, I know what you're asking. I'm just...
Very fine grained as you get close to it. It's almost like a powder.
Could have been like a tripod, or... No, it's not.
Now that's interesting, right? I have another real clip here that I think it was the one they forgot to show us. It seems legit to me. They do say that Stanley Kubrick made the entire landing video in Nevada. Could be. Who am I to say? This was the clip they forgot. Yeah, that's pretty funny, isn't it? That was definitely a TV studio of some kind. But who knows if it's true or not. But hey, the information is out there and it's all kind of matching up, doesn't it? So let's move on to modern times and their CGI fakery, because that's where the $58 million are going, right? It's been proven so far that every single picture taken of Earth from space has been doctored and altered. There are multiple of obvious mistakes that has been ignored all these years. Let's start from the beginning. In 1927. I showed you this picture on the left to you already before when we spoke about collective indoctrination and all that stuff. How did Hollywood know that the Earth looked like this before NASA? And the image is from 1927. On your right, you will see Rockefeller owned NBC Universal, faking the globe long before anyone ever faked going to space. Indeed. More interesting things here. On the left, you have the Blue Marble picture in 2012. On the right, Blue Marble in 2022. Now, we look at these continents. One has Africa, one has America. This continent basically takes the entire ball. So one has to wonder, where's all the rest? Where does all the rest fit? On the backside? Somehow? Am I watching magic here? It's incredible. Here we have another picture from 1978, 2017, and 2012. The exact same clouds are present. And I mean exactly. Look closely at this picture. They are exactly the same. And in 2012, we have an America that's completely different, way, way bigger. Did it expand? Did the ball become smaller somehow? It's absolutely hilarious, isn't it? We have this one here. Come on, NASA, make your mind up. What does the Earth really look like? All images, official NASA pictures of Earth, are released through the mainstream media outlets and major news agencies of the world. Question: how big is America? What color are the oceans and the land? Why is there never any real video of the Earth actually spinning? Very interesting question. Why are the images so varied? Why does anybody believe this is where we live? Do you trust NASA? Yeah, I would tend to agree. I mean, in time, now that we actually start to think about what we're looking at, it makes perfect sense. I'll show you a short little video here that explains to you exactly how this is done. Here we go. Now we can proceed with the fakery of the astronauts, fake spaceships, and the green screen technology. Remember what we said about rockets in a vacuum? Well, look at this.
Entry burn. Meanwhile, that second stage continuing to power Dragon into orbit.
I don't care what you say, that is a mouse.
It's going to continue to burn until 8 minutes and 44 seconds into flight. So a little over 2 minutes from now, we'll hear the call out SECO.
At 4:13.
Safety propulsion is still good.
Now, I want you to listen very, very closely to what this space clown is saying regarding where they are located and where they can actually go. Listen to this BS.
Comes after the International Space Station. Once its mission is over, how do we ensure the presence of humans in space?
Well, that's a great question. The plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go, and this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
Did you hear what he said? I'm like, excuse me, I thought we already went to the moon. What's this garbage about Earth orbit? What are you talking about? You see, the lies just can't sustain themselves any longer. So let me show you here now what a real cover-up looks like. I'm going to play you 3 videos back to back here. Here we go.
Obviously, in order to verify whether the lunar module was actually capable of landing and taking off from the moon, all one would have to do is to take the original designs from the LEM and feed them into a modern simulation computer. With today's computers, it would be very easy to verify all of the LEM's functionalities without the need of actually sending the machine into space. Unfortunately, though, the original designs from the lunar module are nowhere to be found. Apparently, Grumman, the construction company, chose to get rid of them because they took up too much space. To justify this incomprehensible act, the debunking website Clavius writes, Grumman is an aerospace engineering firm, not a museum. It did not wish to house the 100,000 cubic feet or so of design documentation at its expense. But then, why not donate them to a museum? The LEM is the only machine that has ever carried human beings onto another celestial body. Its historical value is unique, and there must be dozens of museums around the world that would have killed just to be able to display its construction designs. Instead, we are asked to believe that all this documentation has been turned into trash just because there wasn't enough space to store it. Even more disconcerting than the disappearance of the LEM designs is the disappearance of the original tapes that contained the images from the first moonwalk by Neil Armstrong.
Now, nearly 40 years after the first moon landing, NASA has confessed that the original film depicting Neil Armstrong's giant leap has been lost. Well, not lost, says NASA, just can't be found.
We are simply talking about the single most important document in the history of mankind. The first step of a human being on another celestial body, which was recorded on magnetic tape by the receiving stations on Earth. As such, one would expect these tapes to be kept under lock, in a thermally controlled environment, in a place accessible only to a restricted number of people. Instead, NASA candidly tells us that the original tapes no longer exist. So shocking was this fact that filmmaker Aaron Rannon wanted to verify it in person, interviewing the former flight director of the Apollo 11 mission, Gene Kranz.
I haven't seen anything that indicates the telemetry data is even in existence, and as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
But your own research has shown the telemetry data is missing.
That's right.
Also from NASA's official archives at Goddard Space Center in Maryland, Aaron Rannon received the same embarrassing answer.
We have been unable to track it down. I mean, we don't know where this telemetry data ended up, and we don't know what path it may have taken. So, unfortunately, I'm afraid I can't really give you much of a clue as to where this data ended up and whether it still exists or not.
But listen to what the explanation by the debunkers is for this inconceivable fact. Let's now take a closer look at the telecommunications between Earth and the Moon. There are several elements that don't add up in this area, like, for example, the delay in the radio communications between Houston and the astronauts. The Earth and the Moon are about 240,000 miles apart. For this reason, a radio signal takes about 1.3 seconds to reach our satellite and another 1.3 seconds to come back to Earth. This means that when Houston asked a question to the astronauts on the Moon, the reply should have taken at least 2.6 seconds to come back to Earth. 1.3 seconds for the question to reach the astronaut, 1.3 seconds for his answer to come back. There are some cases, however, where the answer from the astronaut comes back much faster. Here is one example.
Roger, Jim, copy. And are you progressing towards Dune Crater now?
Yes.
The answer is almost immediate. It takes a little over a second for it to come back.
Roger, Jim, copy. And are you progressing towards Dune Crater now?
Yes.
This is the soundtrack from the original audio. This segment contains the question coming from Houston, and this is the answer by the astronaut. The gap between the end of the question and the answer is only 1.1 seconds.
Roger, Jim, copy. And are you progressing towards Dune Crater now?
Yes.
Too short for this communication to have really come from the Moon. To examine the audio delays, we have obviously used the original, unmodified tapes from NASA distributed around the world by Spacecraft Films. If there is one thing everybody agrees on, it's that the DVDs by Spacecraft Films are the only originals that can be used as reference for any kind of research. Paolo Attivissimo confirms this in one of his conferences.
Poi ci sono i DVD come questo qui, Apollo 11, c'è tutta la serie, sono tutte le trasmissioni televisive che sono state fatte in diretta, lo sbarco, tutto. Quello è il riferimento. Se c'è una falsificazione è lì che la dobbiamo cercare, non è sulla copia trovata su YouTube. Questa è la versione di riferimento.
In this conference, Attivissimo also confirms that the original tapes are unedited and uncut.
DVD come questo, che si possono comprare tranquillamente su internet o dove volete, contengono tutte le riprese originali. Tutto. Senza censure, senza tagli, senza rimontaggi, esattamente così come è arrivato.
The same thing is confirmed by Clavius, one of the most authoritative debunking websites on the Luna issue. The DVDs by Spacecraft Films, writes Clavius, contain the digital transfers of original Apollo film and video unedited. What is interesting is that if one checks the Apollo Journal website instead, where NASA has reloaded the Luna transmissions, broken up in small clips, the audio delay appears to be inserted correctly. This is the audio track from the same scene downloaded from the Apollo Journal. The question coming from Houston is unchanged, while the answer seems to have been moved up to some 4 seconds later.
Roger, Jim, copy. And are you progressing towards Dune Crater now?
Yes.
It's as if someone, in reloading the clip, had realized that the answer came too soon and had inserted a pause to produce the proper delay. But in the original audio from Spacecraft Films, this delay does not exist. This conversation cannot have taken place between the Earth and the Moon. Here is another example where the astronaut's answer comes too quickly.
We're interested in either documented samples or rake sample there if you think it looks like a good area for a rake sample.
Okay, understand, Joe.
1.6 seconds. The reply comes at least 1 second too soon for having originated on the moon. There's even one case from the same mission where the answer takes less than a second to come back to base.
Rover, this is Houston.
Go ahead.
9/10 of a second to be exact. It's as if this astronaut were standing in a room next door rather than actually being on the moon.
Rover, this is Houston.
Go ahead.
Question. Given that we have examined the original videos from spacecraft films and that the debunkers themselves acknowledge that these videos are unedited and uncut, can you explain why, in several instances, the delay between the question and the answer is far shorter than it should be if the conversation had truly taken place between the Earth and the Moon? At this point, we are left with only one consideration to make. If it's true, like all this evidence seems to suggest, that someone at NASA decided to fake the lunar landings, they would have certainly needed to convince the astronauts to play their role all the way through to the end. It could not have been possible to fake the lunar landings without their full cooperation. And astronauts are some exceptional people, courageous and motivated by a deep sense of pride, which comes from constantly putting their lives at risk in order to advance the progress of science. It must have not been easy for them to participate in such a fraud just to satisfy the need of the United States to affirm their leadership in front of the entire world. Let's then take a closer look at the story of the three most famous astronauts of all: Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins, the historical crew of Apollo 11. On July 24, 1969, astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins triumphantly returned from the most important mission ever accomplished in human history. They have just been on the moon. They are the first human beings to have ever visited another celestial body and to have safely returned from it. On the recovery ship, they are welcomed by President Nixon in person. After a brief exchange in front of the cameras, Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins are placed in quarantine for a few weeks of isolation. Then, on September 16, they appear for a press conference in front of the global members of the press, who welcome them with a standing ovation. Everyone expects to see three absolute heroes radiating with happiness and pride for their incredible achievement. But their faces appear somber, tense, somehow preoccupied instead. They seem uncomfortable, and there are several truly embarrassing moments during the event. When the three astronauts are asked the meaning of a mission that has brought mankind on another celestial body for the first time, the three don't seem too eager nor too enthusiastic about answering the question.
Many of us and many other people in many places has speculated on the meaning of this first landing on another body in space. Would each of you give us your estimate of what is the meaning of this to all of us?
And when Armstrong describes their achievement as the beginning of a new era, he seems more like a person forced to read from a script than someone actually convinced of his own words.
The entire program, it's a beginning of a new age.
Possibly the most embarrassing moment of all comes when the famous astronomer and journalist Sir Patrick Moore asks the astronauts whether they could see stars from the moon.
When you looked up at the sky, could you actually see the stars and the solar corona in spite of the glare?
But not one of them, surprisingly, remembers having seen a single star by the naked eye.
We were never able to see stars from the lunar surface or on the daylight side of the moon by eye without looking through the optics.
Even Collins, who was left orbiting the moon while the other two descended on the surface, does not remember seeing a single star.
I don't remember seeing any.
This is a truly disconcerting fact, given that their colleagues from the Gemini missions, who flew in space a few years before them, recall the long hours spent looking at the stars.
We'd spend several hours just with our faces pressed up against the window at night with all the lights turned down low and watching the stars.
Also, the astronauts from the shuttle missions, like, for example, James Riley, recall seeing literally millions of stars in outer space.
What are the stars like in space? Like, are they just brighter than on Earth, or how would you describe it?
They're brighter, but they're different. And a lot of things different about one, you don't have the atmospheric distortion, so they don't twinkle right. So you see lots of points, and you see lots of points, and that literally millions of them.
One wonders where the Apollo 11 astronauts have truly been in the crucial 8 days of their mission, given that they don't remember seeing a single star by naked eye. Another surprising fact is that, instead of pursuing a successful career within NASA after their triumphant mission, the 3 astronauts suddenly decided to leave the space agency. A little over a year after their mission, with the Apollo program still in full swing, all 3 astronauts resigned from NASA. Armstrong literally disappears from the scene, moves to the country, decides not to give any more interviews, and shuns the public eye. And when NASA celebrates the completion of the Apollo program, which has carried 12 men to the moon in the course of 3 years, the most important of all, Neil Armstrong refuses to take part in the ceremony. Buzz Aldrin also falls into a deep state of depression, which leads him towards the abuse of drugs and alcohol.
I thrived on addictive substances, alcoholism, and clearly that began to predominate in my unstructured life.
In 1973, he appears in a photo in Paris Match, definitely changed in his physical aspect. To the French magazine, Aldrin declares, "They think of us as heroes, but the moon has destroyed us." In a 1994 interview, Aldrin is asked to give some advice to the young people who want to become astronauts in the future. But instead of encouraging them and inspiring them with enthusiasm, he warns them against possible disappointments.
Space and its frontiers certainly are new and challenging, and because they're new and challenging, they're also uncertain, and I think anyone aspiring that as a career field has to be equipped with a lot of patience and the ability to cope with things not turning out exactly the way they may perceive that they would ahead of time.
Why would a man who has just accomplished the most important mission in the history of mankind warn young people against the risk of disappointments and failures?
Ladies and gentlemen, Neil Armstrong.
Armstrong sometimes reappears in public, but it's definitely not to sing a praise for NASA. In a ceremony hosted by Bill Clinton in 1994, Armstrong makes an ambiguous and mysterious statement. While talking to a group of students, he mentions some of truth's protective layers that young people should try to remove in order to go on.
We leave you much that is undone. There are great ideas undiscovered, breakthroughs available to those who can remove one of truth's protective layers.
Later on, Armstrong stuns reporters again when he refuses to take part in the celebrations of the 40th anniversary of the Apollo mission. In 2004, filmmaker Bart Sibrel produces a documentary called Astronauts Gone Wild, in which he interviews the astronauts from the Apollo missions and asks them to swear on the Bible that they really have been on the moon. We must keep in mind that in the United States, a sworn testimony filmed on camera can be used in a court against the person who has made that testimony. And in the United States, perjury is a crime that can even end you up in jail. We don't know if this is the actual reason, but it's interesting to notice that once Neil Armstrong realizes he is being filmed by Sibrel's camera, he refuses to swear on the Bible.
I wanted to give you the opportunity to swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon. Will you put your left hand on the Bible and swear to God that you walked on the moon?
Gentlemen. Mr. Sibrel.
Yes? If you really walked on the moon, why would you not do that? So why don't you just put the...
Even after Sibrel offers him $5,000 in cash to be given to charity, Armstrong still refuses to swear.
You have $5,000 cash. You can give it to charity if you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon. I have the tape.
That'd be fine.
Why don't you swear to... Why not? Why won't you do it?
Buzz Aldrin also refuses to swear.
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon? Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon? Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
Sibrel keeps insisting and even insults Aldrin until the former astronaut hits him with a punch. But at the end of the day, just like Armstrong did, Aldrin also refused to swear. Michael Collins, too, the third Apollo astronaut, refuses to swear and actually runs from Sibrel as if he had seen the devil.
Well, asking you to swear in the Bible that you orbited the moon.
Would you please go away?
Well, if you really orbited the moon, why won't you swear in the Bible that you did so? I just don't understand why if you orbited the moon, you wouldn't have a problem about swearing to the Bible on it.
Sibrel certainly doesn't have a pleasant approach, but if someone has really been on the moon, why not swear anyway? All you would have needed to do to get rid of the nuisance would have been to stretch your hand out and swear on the Bible. On top, Armstrong could have given $5,000 in charity by simply performing that act. But none of the three astronauts wanted to do it. Why?
It gets a bit embarrassing there in the end, doesn't it? I think the Freemasonic oath is very strong with these ones. Also, did you know that the Apollo astronauts are the only ones who got a plaque at the Avenue of Stars? This one here. I thought that was only for actors. How about that? It must have been a hell of a performance to deserve a plaque like that. Am I right? Let's look at some other interesting facts here. Another nice image I found that I find very, very interesting. So how did this turn into this and then back to this? Can somebody explain that to me? Because I don't understand. Explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old, NASA, please. Because I can't see it. Another issue to look at was how they finally found the excuse to end the shuttle program with a tragic explosion of the Challenger shuttle back in the day. I remember I saw it on TV. The entire world watched it explode on live television. Enough to scare any child from even thinking of pursuing a career as an astronaut. Now, some diligent nerds have investigated this issue and discovered that the entirety of the dead crew members suddenly turned out to have twins that did not exist before. Some are even called by the same name. I have seen videos of when they are approached, and it's kind of hard to watch actually. It is indeed embarrassing. But here follows a little clip about that issue.
It turns out that 6 of the 7 are still alive and kicking today. Ellison Onizuka claims to be his identical twin brother, Claude. Yeah, I've got an identical twin brother, Claude, too. The Challenger pilot, Mickey Smith, hasn't even bothered changing his name. He's now Professor Michael J. Smith of University of Wisconsin. Now, Krista McAuliffe was a bit of a sneaky one. She was the Challenger payload specialist, quite famous for being a teacher. It turns out during her astronaut days she was using her middle name, Krista, and now she goes by her first name, Sharon, and she's a Syracuse law professor. The Challenger commander, Francis Richard Scobie, is now Dick Scobie, which sounds like a rather unpleasant disease, CEO of Cows and Trees Limited. Judith Resnick, the Challenger mission specialist, again hasn't even bothered changing her name. She's a professor at Yale Law. And finally, Ronald McNair, another Challenger mission specialist, claims to be his identical twin brother, Carl McNair. What are the odds?
I am hoping that the affliction that Steve Hawley had from the 41D mission specialist of the delays hasn't rubbed off on me.
50 feet long. The image lets you see all of the current contemporary issues. All courts shall be open, property remedied by due course of law. You can find these. The equal justice under law becomes that we thought courts were all along. It says equal law.
So, it appears that it's all a lie, isn't it? We have this picture here, speaking on the subject, where we can see them all. This is exactly what you saw in the video. Pictures then, pictures today. If it's too small on the screen, please take a screenshot if that's your thing. So, said all this, you might wonder, what does this have to do with anything you have been talking about so far, Max? We mainly deal with history, some politics, or forgotten history. Well, I had to present to you this NASA chapter first, in order to set the stage for what comes next. The biggest lie of all, which is the reality of the realm that we walk upon. NASA's purpose and scope is to hide this reality from us. It is their entire purpose to exist. I had to show you the extent of the lies that they, the Khazarian Mafia, are willing to go to in order to deceive and distract us. The magnitude of some, like Tartaria for example, are in my view absolutely mind-blowing, even if only 10% of it would be correct. It would be bad enough. So what comes next in the next chapter is the game changer. And you are now ready to go even deeper with me on this journey into the Great Awakening. I will show you here on screen Mr. Werner von Braun's tombstone that might provide some clues as to where we are going. He has inscribed on his tombstone Psalms 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Some of you might know where this is leading. We will proceed to chapter 9.1, that's called What Do We Live and Walk Upon? The Heliocentric Hoax. And here it's when it starts to get really complicated and really interesting and really nerdy, okay? So I hope you stick with me and follow me on this incredible journey together. And that's all for me today. Max out, and peace to you all.